As a major mech sim, mostly Gundam, I was constantly disappointed by the lack of good mecha games that was on PS4. The only ones we really got were really fun, like Gundam Battle, Operation 2, Zone of Enders Second Runner, Titanfall 2, and technically Gundam Dealbreaker 3. Everything else either felt like it didn't use its mecha concept well enough, like Project Nimbus, Assault Gunners, etc., or games that has mecha, quote unquote mecha, but it's not the main focus. So, when an Armored Core game was coming out after a whole decade, I was on a hype train, hoping it will be good at its predecessors. And I can happily say that this is the exact game I wanted from previous mecha games to be like. Let's talk about the gameplay. With SDBA, my main issue of this game is that it felt a little button mashy, and not in a good way, making the combat feel repetitive and unsatisfying. Armored Core pulled a total 180 degree. This game has a combat that keeps you on your toes as you are constantly moving to avoid bullets, missiles and lasers. It makes you think on your feet and figure out how to survive each missions. It is luckily not too intense to be a Dark Souls level, but still takes its time to pull it off. I am glad that this isn't really a hack and slash game. Mobility is the key in this game. The controls really feel smooth in this game. You can hover around the area, dash in any direction or boost straight to your destination. It's also nice that Armored Core 6 took a page out of Marvel Spider-Man and give us two essential components, healing and scanning. As for scanning, it is very helpful for finding out undetected enemies and finding secret chests in various locations. Healing is a huge lifesaver, as it saved my ass countless of times in near-death encounters. However, this comes with a catch. You can only use it 3 times, as you gotta use it judiciously. All these mechanics and so many of the gameplay makes it both the combat and the traversal more fun than ever before in a mech game. But I felt like I was using a tricked out machine of my own making. Speaking of which, the real meat of this game comes from customization of your AC and its loadout. Starting with your AC itself, the mech is customizable to mix and match as you please, swapping arms and legs to carry heavier equipments and changing its head and FCS chips for better scanning, and picking the right torso, thrusters and generators for more energy to dash through your enemies and to power your weapons. You can also customize it cosmetically as you plant both of your decals. Luckily, there are handful ways to earn money, so you don't have to buy anything from it. When did we went from buying tokens with IRL money BS and tedious crafting mechanics to being able to use hand-earned in-game cash like earning tickets from the arcade game or finding parts lying around in secret areas? God, I missed it. When the game were just this simple when it comes to getting weapons and items, you just play or replay it more to earn more money, to find more stuff for your customization. in Ghost of Tsushima and even in recent Spider-Man games have fun missions and side quests and challenges that allows you to craft cool suits and upgrade gadgets. And then you have games like SDBA where you have to replay boring ass levels just to build a lackluster mobile suit that won't even be used for the whole loadout. Overall, the customization of this game is one of its best highlights and should be in every mech game from now on. In terms of level, another great thing about this game is definitely its level design. They are all well designed, keeping you on your toes with their platforms and enemy placements. No map is the same, as it makes you prepare your AC ahead, making sure you can survive the encounters with enemy with the right weapons and platforms each area correctly with right weapon limits and thrusters. And the art design of these places are no slouch either, as these are some of the most amazing looking levels. We got a well detailed factory, an abandoned city covered in fog, and a space station with warships, an artistic survey area, and so much more. There is so much more variety, and I am happy that it's not like 3 levels of repeat space stations and cities like in SDBA. While I did die a lot in boss fights, I really liked how most of these fights turned out. The first boss was a prime example on how the rest of the games will turn out. Kakarot 197 definitely explained it perfectly, expressing that the boss is the game. It really set me up for what to expect for the rest of the game, and for the rest of the game moving forward. The Juggernaut, Baltius, Smart Cleaner, Iceworm, all of them are great fights with huge spectacle with specific ways to beat them. Whether it using specific weapons, exploiting a weak points, or having a great timing, these bosses really test your skills to the highest limits. In terms of storytelling, I should probably get to the story first. You are a mercenary AC pilot who works for a handler named Walter. He ships your ass to a planet called Rubicon to make a living by finding work in a war between 5 factions fighting over the power source called Corals. 2 of them being the corporations Balaam and Erequabus, the Road, the Space Popo, like the Space Closure Administration, and the Rubicon Liberation Front. You are basically on no one's sides, however, and will do anything for quick buck. However, a mysterious entity called Ayre sticks with you. A mysterious entity called Ayre sticks with you while providing you with some insights into the world of Rubicon. Your mileage will vary whether you care about the stories or not, but I do like the logs and the war arts you can collect throughout the game, providing the lore and the backstories of the game. Also, props to the voice actors in this game. Everyone gave it their A game in this game, and cast is pretty good. The obvious big man himself, Patrick Chase, voices Walter, and he gives a pretty decent performance. We even got big names like Stephanie Shake, Kate Silverstein, and Robbie Diamond, and even Johnny Young Bosch voicing minor characters in this game. Even some of the C-listers voice actors aren't half bad. Ayre's voice actress Erin Ivety especially is the best one. Speaking of which, I like the approach to multiple endings they went with. The game has this missions called decision missions, where you have to pick one mission to complete, and that will lead into a certain ending depending on which one you pick. I like it simple like that, and it ain't that complicated like David Cage's game or Telltale games where there are dozens of endings depending on what decision you made throughout the game. The game is linear, and I prefer the game like this, where you can count on how many amounts of endings in single hand. You don't need to do weird things like searching wikis to get a ending you want, like in Elden Ring or in other Dark Souls-like type of games. And I like it. I like the linear curated approach of handcrafted missions like in this game, unlike in Elden Ring where there is some copy-pasted content. Despite praising the shit out of this game, I still have my gripes with it. Some are just nitpicks and some are worth addressing. It's kinda limited customization for me. Why are all melee weapons restricted on left arms? The shoulder shield, I understand, those are typically on your left side. But why can't you use melee weapons on your right side? Like, if you can use the same weapons on both arms and backs, why can't you do the same for melee weapons? Now that I think about it, there's lot of left-handed melee fighters in video games like Legend of Zelda, Zero from Mega Man, Hunters from Monster Hunter, Nero from Devil May Cry. What is it with Japanese games and left-handed fighters? Cause at this point, you might as well let the player decide their character's dominant hand. Although the area fights aren't bad, they don't really leave any impression on me. Most of the time, I just use the missile loadouts and spammed them until they got wrecked. I did this with area fights, and I even did this with the final boss fights. The area is only there to earning some quick bucks and getting the OS chips. The core expansion part are kind of lame. They are just orbs of energy that only usable when you're staggered. They're either orbs that causes a burst of EMP, a bubble that protects you, and a bigger bubble that protects you. I ended up not using them throughout the game, and it turns out that I don't really need to. I only use the OS tuning to just upgrade my AC. Would it kill them to add more abilities like the temporarily be invincible, having an unlimited ammo for a short period of time, or some unlimited thrust with set time limits? Maybe it is because of the balancing issues. They didn't include those crazy powers like in other mecha games. Some of the missions felt like they should have had a reload point but didn't for some reason. Like the Xylem missions felt like that, where I didn't get a reload before the second helicopter fight. They also affected how I did a decision mission. Like there's one boss fight that I couldn't beat and ended up fighting another boss that I could beat. The last part is more of a suggestion than an actual complaint, but it would have been nice to have more weapons to use. And I'm not just talking about arms and back weapons, but built-in weapons. Like, let me explain. In GBO2 and GB3, there are weapon wheels that allows you to choose what weapons to use, and these ranges from chest volcans, back cannons that turns into beam sabers, head beam cannons, and list goes on. Like the trick weapons in Bloodborne, where one weapon can turn into different weapons in an instant. Overall, Armored Core 6 is the best game I've ever played in a while. FromSoft definitely gave it their all when it comes to developing this game. The gameplay is smooth, the combat is intense and satisfying, the level design are well designed, and the bosses make the beating them feel triumphant. Customization really feels like fun to play around. Hopefully they learn from this game and try to apply it in their next game. And hopefully FromSoft will improve on their next sequel even more. I can now definitely see why Armored Core games are considered the king of mecha games. With that being said, I am not touching the SD Battle Alliance until they release the good suit. Even then, I don't know. So overall, it is one of the best games I have ever played in the last 5 years. And I highly recommend anyone who is remotely a fan of sci-fi or mech games to play this type of games, or even an action games fan of the action games in general.